puppy?
He's good. He's getting so big.
Yeah, he's full grown.
Yeah. What's that?
Full grown yet?
No, not quite. I think he's still got like, I think he's halfway there.
Oh, okay.
Did you see those videos that Jordan posted?
I saw one. Which one?
He took him to the dog beach the other day.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh my god, he loved it, man. He went crazy. So I didn't get to go with him. He was telling Long Beach?
Oh no, that's
yeah. Whatever one.
Long Beach has a nice one.
Yeah, he went out there. He's telling me as soon as they hit the beach, Goro like took off running into the ocean and like panicked because he went too far out. And he came like,
when I took one of my first time to the beach, like he thought saltwater was fresh water. He just drank the shitload of it. And then when he got home,
he gets sick.
He got sick.
Yeah, I think they're doing like a photo walk or something. I think they'll be a little late.
Well, I mean, it's just playing the other game, right? You have an auction.
I like your right side. I'm going to be back here.
Trying to shepherd everybody up.
Thank you.
Just be aware.
Right there.
Yeah, it'll knock it over.
I promise you that.
You can move it a little right, that's fine.
I want to get them. I don't know. It's so nice having other media care about walking. I know, trust me.
much. How far off are we, Marty? I can't do that. Oh, shit.
I've been holed up, you know, for years in my office.
Well, you are.
Go wherever you need to go.
Looks good.
Yes.
You can either.
I've done it on my head before.
Don't fall. I'm gonna be right next to you so you don't fall. Because you go backwards and that's not gonna be good. The end of your day.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You make an announcement. You can keep non-camera cameras. Okay. We also have all banana. Just want to make sure people stay behind cameras.
Non-camera people, please.
Let's move the non-camera people
Non-camera
behind the
people
camera.
behind cameras.
Behind cameras. Everybody behind the camera.
If you're not press, get behind.
Behind the camera.
I tried.
I got a voice.
Thank you.
You
You know where I was coming, right?
I knew you were doing.
Certainly project.
It's like the circus Volkswagen. They just keep coming out the front. That's it. The last one. Right. There's more.
Boy, watch that cable.
All is wrong.
Margo, where's Brian? Should I just start? Okay. All right.
You're right in the.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Pro Tem O'Farrell, distinguished guests, press, Hollywood Heritage welcomes you to Hollywood for National Silent Movie Day and the dedication of the Chaplin Keaton. We are honoring this humble alleyway for being a secret treasure, a historic site long forgotten but now rediscovered. For this site represents Hollywood as backdrop, Hollywood as art, and Hollywood as industry. It is a six-way constellation, in the words of John Bankston. Three great talents, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Harold Lloyd, coming to this alley to create three enduring masterpieces, The Kid, Cops, and Safety Last. This is why Hollywood Heritage advocates for the preservation of historic Hollywood, because there are so many stories to uncover, so many stories left to tell. We hope that the dedication of the site, a crossroads of urban life, culture, and history, encourages more people to look at the streets of Hollywood and feel the atmosphere that gave rise to the world's greatest popular entertainment. With that, I would like to thank President Pro Tem, hot off the presses, Mitch O'Farrell, David Gaida and Jose Malagan of the Hollywood Vinyl District, the proprietors of Mika Alley, as well as Danny Batar of Station 1640 and Aziz Banyan, and the board and volunteers of Hollywood Heritage. I would also like to thank the members of the Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Harold Lloyd families who are with us today. But most of all to John Bankston, whose incredible scholarship and tireless enthusiasm brought this to our attention, and it's a real pleasure we are here today. Thank you. With that, I give our own Stan Taffel from Hollywood Heritage.
Oh, thank you. Today is some day, isn't it? Yes. This is a day that up until several years ago, we thought would never happen. No one thought it would ever happen. Nobody thought about it because nobody knew about it. Who would have thought or even known that one small alleyway between some buildings in Hollywood would lure so many artists and artisans to its location beginning over a century ago? On its own, it looks like a typical alley that one can see just about anywhere in any town USA, no different than any other. And yet, this extraordinary place, once uncharted on our planet, has become hallowed ground, a destination place, a kind of holy grail for silent film enthusiasts. This alley is not just some ordinary shortcut to another street. It is a gateway, a conduit. It leads us on a great path, a path to the past, a place where giants once stood, a place that people all over the world in a darkened theater saw, and yet never knew or thought much about. It was within this circumference that three giants of motion picture comedy separately gathered and utilized its location to make motion picture history. These three men, Chaplin, Keaton, and Lloyd, perhaps lesser known by today's masses as they once were, but to put it in better terms to equate them to the youth of the world, in sports terms, they were the Kobe, Shaquille, and LeBron of their day. In their lifetime, they were heralded, awarded, honored, beloved, and after they left us, their posthumous accolades continued, and still do, yet this alley is one affirmation that even they couldn't possibly imagine. Nobody could. Nobody did. Until one person stumbled upon one fact, one piece of detective sleuthing that offered up this location for one film, and then another, and still another. In fact, nearly 24 films from the silent era have used this alley. That is, 24 that we know of. We may never know the exact count because so many films of the silent past have forever vanished into the ether of the atmosphere. But what we do know is that iconic motion pictures were made here. They did not know it then, but we know it now. And we know it now because of the never-ending and tireless search and dedication of one person who made it known and chose to share his research with the world. We know about this alley, its rich history, and the reason we can gather today and make it known that this is not just some average alley, but a very special plot of earth because of the incredible efforts of Mr. John Bankston. The list of other gifted individuals who worked motion picture magic here is a silent who's who in the silent era. There was Colleen Moore, the top female box office star of the mid-20s. Douglas Fairbanks, the original swashbuckling action star. Oliver Hardy, who, before his partnership with Stan Laurel, filmed here with comedian Billy West. Lois Weber, one of the greatest directors of the silence, whose work is being discovered again and appreciated. Grace Kennard, Ben Turpin, Cleo Madison, Harry Houdini, and that's just part of the list of people that worked in this alley. All the pioneers of the motion picture industry taught the world to listen with their eyes. In doing so, for the brief time that they would sit in a theater, they brought the entire world together. What sets these three stars that we honor today are the three films that they made here, which have all been acclaimed and acknowledged as timeless classics, and represent these immortals of the screen at the top of their game. In addition, all three films have been recognized by the National Film Registry. The films are Safety Last, which contains arguably the most recognized portrait of Harold Lloyd, who through his sheer fortitude balances love and equilibrium while hanging by the minute hand of a clock, dangling hundreds of feet above a busy metropolis. Cops, a brilliantly layered and orchestrated chain of events with an innocent Buster Keaton wanting to do good for the love of a woman, but through a series of unfortunate circumstances finds himself being chased by an entire city police force. And The Kid, where an abandoned baby left in an alley, found and initially unwanted by Charlie Chaplin, becomes the very essence of his being, and nothing, not on heaven or earth, will separate them. Three actors, the big silent three. In each of these comedy masterpieces, different as they are, one through line is plainly evident. Love. It coerces them on, it pushes them to the brink. It's the universality that we all understand. We identify it, we identify with them, and through them we can see something of ourselves, and they knew it. They handled it in their own unique way, but they knew it. That is why each of them is so relevant today as they were in their day. They know us because they are us. In his later years, Charlie Chaplin said that his only enemy was time. With respect, I have to differ with this assertion, and also include the other two men who will forever share this space and honor with him. The work in which they have left their shadows to dance for us continues to delight and entrance all who see them. Through their films, we see a reflection of ourselves, what we want to be, what we hope to be. That is timeless and bridges the gap of so many decades between their time and our time today. That some of their family have joined us here, some who have traveled halfway around the world to be here, to honor these films and these men, and that all of you are here as well who have come on this special day to be here and to pay homage. I know that time is not Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, or Harold Lloyd's enemy, but their very best friend. Before today, people would walk past this alley not thinking for a moment that this pedestrian walkway was anything other than what it looks like. After today, with this celebration of the achievements of these silent superstars, when people walk by, they will see a sign, a plaque, and maybe pause for a moment and look and reflect on what was created on this spot. For they should. After all, magic was made here. Say my speech all over again. It gives me great pleasure. We couldn't hear you. You can't hear me. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you among the great people that have helped put this on and make this happen. Without him, none of us would be standing where we are today. With pleasure, I give you Mr. John Beckson.
Hi everyone. Happy National Silent Movie Day. Thank you so much for coming. I'm John Bankson, and it's so gratifying to be here. I want you to imagine yourself standing here in 1914 when the movies began starting being made in Hollywood. Just behind us, the corner of Cahuenga and Hollywood Boulevard was one of the town centers. Hollywood was so undeveloped at the time that south of where we are standing, there were just empty fields and vacant lots. There was nothing there. Charlie Chaplin built his studio in the middle of a lemon grove, and he kept dozens of the trees when he opened it in 1918. This block, this 1600 block of Cahuenga, was the center of early silent filming. I've identified 50 silent movies that were filmed here, more so than any other street in Hollywood. And this block was also the favorite Hollywood street for Chaplin, Keaton, and Lloyd. Charlie filmed 4 movies here. Harold Lloyd filmed 5 movies here. And Buster Keaton filmed here 8 times. So you ask, why? Why here? Well, the famous Players Lasky studio, which is the original site of the Hollywood Heritage Barn, that stood just 2 blocks away at Selma and Vine. And then Universal City was just a mile or 2 to the north. So this was the easiest place to shoot, a handy street corner. And then as an added bonus, our alley stood right nearby. So as Stan said, there have been over 24 movies that were filmed in this humble alleyway. Many were by Universal Films, and as Stan mentioned, Universal directors like Lois Weber, Cleo Madison, and Grace Kennard filmed here. And given how so many films, how frequently they showed up in these rare surviving films, you can only imagine how many films that are sadly lost that the alley appears in as well. So just at this entranceway here, there's a very popular place to film. Colleen Moore ran by here. She's fleeing for her life. Douglas Fairbanks was scared to death. He was fleeing for his life. He ran into the alley. Oliver Hardy chased Billy West out of the alley. And then the great handcuff king, Harry Houdini, the great escape artist, he escaped the bad guys running out of this alley. And it was very dramatic. He gave a good turn for the camera before he ran out of this right here where we're standing. So, of course, we're here to honor our special guests, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Harold Lloyd, the 3 great kings of silent comedy. They each filmed a masterpiece here, The Cops, Kids, and Safety Last, and each was inducted into the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress, which is cinema's highest honor. So this is a 6-way constellation. A 6-way constellation of iconic stars and timeless films. It's absolutely unique in Hollywood history. And I've been struggling to convey just how staggeringly unlikely this place is to exist. It's kind of like hitting a hole-in-one. But more precisely, it's like hitting a hole-in-one 6 times in a row. But even more remarkable, it's more remarkable than that, because first of all, after 100 years, this alley is still here. It's still standing. The favorite places for Charlie, Buster, and Harold to shoot were downtown, Bunker Hill, the old Chinatown, Ducommun Street. They are all gone. They've been buried by freeways or wiped off the map by redevelopment. So the fact that our little alley survives more than a century later, I think that counts as hole-in-one number 7. Next, overlapping clues from a dozen silent films allowed this mystery to be solved. Most movies filmed are only looking in one direction or another. But there was a 1925 newspaper drama called The Last Edition, and it was different. It pointed in 8 different directions. So this movie was the Rosetta Stone. This was the one movie that tied everything together. But get this. This movie languished in an archive unseen for 9 decades. And it was only until the San Francisco Silent Film Festival found this movie and restored it and brought it back to the public light, we would never have known about this movie. So if the movie had not been revived, solving the mystery, we wouldn't be here again. So I think that counts as hole-in-one number 8. And last, I want to thank Hollywood Heritage, led by President Brian Curran, and then the Ika Alley property owners, especially David Gaida and Aziz Banayan, for hosting this ceremony today. More than a dozen people have worked hours and hours and hours to make today happen. Hollywood Heritage is such an important charity. They're all volunteers. They work so hard to protect and preserve Hollywood's landmarks and history. So even in these crazy, stressful times, when everybody is already so busy, somehow Hollywood Heritage and the Eek Alley property owners, they got together and decided that they should make today happen, and they did. And so I want to thank them all again and recognize that today's happy ceremony is truly our incredible hole-in-one number 9. So I know you're worrying. Don't worry, we're not going to play a whole round of golf. But before I finish, I also want to thank Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell and his office for all their tremendous support. And in closing, I just ask you to close your eyes and think back 100 years. Put yourself in their place. Can you imagine? In one way or another, Keaton, Chaplin, and Lloyd each spent days. They spent days filming here. They knew this alley. It was significant to them. They woke up mornings and drove. They woke up mornings and drove here to work all day. And they made landmark films here that each became a milestone in their career. And I have no doubt that they kept the memory of this place with them for as long as they lived. And now we too can share these memories with them. So with that, thank you once again, everyone, for happening. And here's to the next hole-in-one. Thank you, everybody.
As you heard, we have very special guests, family members who have traveled to be here today, and they want to say a word of thanks to all of us and all of you. So first I would like to bring up a woman who, not only is she the granddaughter of Harold Lloyd, at a very young age she learned what film preservation was all about and helped preserve the films of Harold Lloyd with Harold Lloyd by her side. She started incredibly young. I mean, she's been doing it most of her life. So she's also a hero to us as a film preservationist, Sue Lloyd.
Woo! Well, it's a great honor to be here today. I can't tell you. My grandfather, Harold, who, as Stan just said, raised me. I lived with my grandparents for 20 years. He had such an affection for working with his counterparts, with Charlie and Buster, and it was very collaborative. And to think that they all worked in this alley, it's, you know, really truly a gem that John Bingston has found this and given it on to preserve it and for film history. You know, they held the templates for comedy, and they were the forebears and the founders. So I appreciate your care and your enthusiasm and your love for silent films and for all their work, from all of them. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.
I'm going to bring up a young lady who is also an actress working here in Hollywood. She is also related to somebody. I'll let you guess when I introduce Keaton Talmage.
Thank you everyone. Thank you so much for coming out and supporting. This means a great deal to our family, of course, and to the Chaplin and Lloyd families as well. We're big appreciators of anything that helps preserve legacy. You know, there was a period of time when my colleagues, my peers didn't know who Buster was. Their parents did, but they didn't. And now that's changing. And more people and more generations know who the silent film actors are. They've seen the films, they've seen GIFs on Twitter, and a lot of that is due to the preservation of places like this, where they can see this and be inspired, and filmmakers can come with their iPhones and shoot in this alley, just like Buster did. And that means a great deal to us, and we're very grateful and happy to be a part of it. So thank you very much, everyone.
She traveled over 26 hours by plane to be here for this special event. I wouldn't travel an hour in a bus. She is an actress, an accomplished model, and she is here to honor her grandfather. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Kiera Chaplin.
Hi everyone. Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here, and thank you so much to the Hollywood Heritage for doing this. I think it's so important to be able to save these spaces. I actually never met my grandfather. He passed away before I was born, and to be able to come here and see where he filmed some of his work is very special. So thank you, and thank you, Stan. Thank you, Brian.
I just want to acknowledge there are two other people that are in our audience today. We actually have the grandson of the kid himself. Jackie Coogan's grandson, Keith Coogan, is here. We also have with us a wonderful fellow whose grandfather was Raleigh Tothero, who filmed Chaplin's motion pictures from 1915 until 1952. It could be a record, but whatever we saw on the screen, Raleigh saw first, and we have Dave Tothero here as well. And I'd like to bring back our new president of Hollywood Heritage, Brian Curran.
I want to end our ceremony by introducing Hollywood's tireless champion, a man whose work with the communities here, the organizations that work here, to make Hollywood a better place and to make it a place and a destination, a place where people want to come back to, and a place where people can start. It's been fascinating to me that for the first time, the studios that actually exist in Hollywood, the neighborhood, have come back. That we're building a new studio soon. So many things have happened under his tenure, and now, hot off the presses, he has been newly elected president of the Los Angeles City Council Pro Tem. That's Councilman Mitch O'Farrell.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Brian, and thank you, Stan. As the speakers are making their remarks, I'm just mindful that everyone gathered here today, our grandparents and our great-grandparents saw these films, and here we are standing with their descendants. So I salute you, all of you, so much. Thank you for what your forebears gave the world, and it is truly something that I have always valued. In fact, I saw one of Harold Lloyd's silent films when I was a very young kid, and he did this backflip off of a balcony with balustrades, and it made me want to be an acrobat. I later became a competitive gymnast. So it's Harold Lloyd's fault that I became a competitive. No, but the physicality of these three great legends, they poked fun at themselves. They took risks. They did all of these amazing stunts that they didn't have stunt doubles back in those days. They risked everything for our enjoyment. That is part of their legacy, and that legacy keeps on giving. It is a new world here in Hollywood, and we are reclaiming our history. We are making sure that our history stays with us and is celebrated and exalted as we also bring back our signature industry and celebrate that, because it employs so many people, about 500,000 people in the county of Los Angeles, in front of and behind the lines. So let's give it up for Hollywood and the industry. And it is precisely because of these three giants and many, many more in our past and our present, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, Jackie Coogan, and so many others, that cause us to value this history even more. This is a one-of-a-kind place in the world, on the planet. And here we are, able to celebrate these seminal silent films. I want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, Hollywood Heritage, John Bankston, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, the Hollywood Partnership, and the local Ica Alley merchants. This is something worth rallying around. The whole world will see this. The world has changed a lot from over 100 years ago, but we evolve with the times. So has cinema, and this helps tell that story as well. It's not always a pretty history, but you know what? These three made us laugh along the way, and now they're the folks who have inherited their talents are making us laugh with today's comedians. But they set the tone back in the day, in the silent era. And what a great day celebrating silent films across the country. And I want to thank Turner Classic Movies and all the silent movie theaters for showing these films and exposing this great talent, these great works of art to all new generations. And you better believe they're going to make a plan to come to this site and spend money and help our local economy as we recover from this pandemic. Thank you all so much, and may God bless. Now, I get the honor of presenting this city certificate. This is one little indulgence that I always enjoy. It's just a piece of parchment, but it means everything. It is symbolic of our gratitude for all of the groups that I mentioned and everyone who loves this industry and loves this history. On Silent Movie Day, the Chaplin Keaton Lloyd Alley, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles and the constituents of the 13th District, we would like to extend our sincere congratulations to Hollywood Heritage on the dedication ceremony of the Chaplin Keaton Lloyd Alley on the occasion of the inaugural National Silent Movie Day. It goes on. The designation of this site pays tribute to Hollywood's unique cultural, social, and economic heritage. Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Harold Lloyd are remembered as the kings of silent film comedy. They helped establish Hollywood as the movie capital of the world by each operating studios and producing their classic films within Hollywood. Signed on this day, we salute you, we thank you, and we honor you on this wonderful day. Congratulations.
Can you come out to the front with the certificate? Come out to the front.
Okay. And the descendants.
Yes.
You all are everything. Yeah, come. You all are just everything. Yes.
That's what you missed.
Yeah, come.
Yeah. So let's look over. Let's look over here first. John. Come up.
Can we get Angie Schneider?
I heard.
Okay, so folks, hang on a second. We're now going to
invite the councilman and council president. Help us.
John?
So you grab that, everybody.
You should all grab a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, it's kind of heavy. We need 4 guys. 4 strong guys.
Yeah. But Hollywood Heritage started by 4 women.
Well, you know, that's okay.
Strong women.
They're the brains, though. We can be the
Back a little more, please.
Okay. Are we ready, Jose? All right. Let's unveil the renaming of the Chaplin Keaton the Chaplin Lloyd Alley plaque. Unfortunately, pandemic time has delayed the delivery of the plaque, but it will be coming soon. So, but we have the sign.
And with that, John Banks' dream has finally come true. And I am retiring to Miami.
So, everyone who, there are drinks and refreshments down at St. Felix, the corner on Selma. And with that, that concludes the dedication.
One looking this way, please. There.